In the headlines, President Buhari takes decision on currency redesign in 7 days. Bandits kill 30 people, leaving hundreds injured in Kankara local government area of Katsina State. 24 rescued in Abuja, building collapse as residents cautioned against poor structures. Away from Nigeria, 27 killed in South Sudan on eve of Pope's visit. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for joining. And now the details. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised that government will take a decision on the cash swap policy in the next 7 days. He conceded to some governors on the platform of the All Progressives Congress who met with him on Friday at the State House in Abuja that they were closer to the people and were genuinely informed about the hardship stirred up by the policy. The president also said that he followed television reports about cash shortages and hardship to local businesses and ordinary people and gave assurances that the next 7 days will be used to crack down on whatever stood in the way of successful implementation of the policy. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The governors had had enough and had instituted this meeting. It is not exactly clear what was discussed behind closed doors between the governors and the presidents, but sources inside the presidential villa suggest the agenda of the meeting was the current hardship Nigerians were currently facing, especially the difficulty caused by the redesign of the Naira notes and the cash withdrawal policy. Some context to the currency redesign policy was given by the president, who explained that when he considered giving the approval to the policy, he demanded an undertaking from the CBN that no new notes would be printed in a foreign country. And they in turn gave him assurances that there was enough capacity, manpower and equipment to print the currency for local needs. So while the president is dismayed by the difficulties that have risen from the policy, he dismisses some banks as inefficient and stresses that even if a year is added, problems associated with selfishness and greed won't go away. But the governors were adamant, telling the president that they were in support of his decision on the renewal of currency, but pointing out that its execution had been botched.
Our request is for the deadline to be shifted, not only shifted, but the old currency should go along with the new currency until the old currency dies a natural death, which is possible.
The president, it seems, has decided to consult the CBN and the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company again to find out what is actually happening and thereafter take that important decision within the next 7 days. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has promised to address banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling and terrorism, which have crippled economic activities in Zamfara State, if elected as Nigeria's president come February 25. The Labour Party presidential candidate made the pledge while in Gusau, the Zamfara State capital, when Labour Party presidential campaign train stopped over to canvass the votes of electorates ahead of the February 25 and March 11, 2023 general elections. Addressing supporters at the Labour Party presidential rally in Gusau, the presidential candidate, Peter Obi, assured residents that he will tackle the prevailing security challenges, poverty, hunger and unemployment, among others, if given the mandate. He said Nigeria and Zamfara State are facing myriad of challenges which need competent and capable leadership to provide lasting solutions, where he said that the Labour Party is well prepared and ready to provide that purposeful leadership.
Labour Party! Papa, Mama! Papa, Mama! Mine is a very simple one. Our job is simple. Our job is to ensure that we build and pull people out of poverty. Our job is to secure you, to ensure that stability is done for us. Our job ensure that you're no longer hungry. Ensure that if you go to school, you're provided with a job.
Now, as Nigerians prepare to elect new leaders a few weeks from now, the Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace has called on the electorate and politicians to ensure peaceful conduct at the forthcoming elections. They urged religious bodies in the country to work together to ensure that all voters are empowered with enough information that will enable them to make wise choices and implications of letting their voices be heard. The report.
Challenges of managing Nigeria's religious and ethnic diversities have over time been allowed to promote primordial interests. However, religious and traditional leaders still have a strategic role to play in building a sustainable and peaceful environment in the electoral process. The Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace is therefore stressing the need for leadership with respect for the nation's diversity in ethnicity, religious beliefs, and affiliations.
In safeguarding the elections, we must ensure that matters are not exaggerated and reactions to ethnic tensions are proportionally to the issues at hand so that peace will reign at every point. We must stand to safeguard the forthcoming election in the context of ethno-religious sentiments by providing support and protection for those who are likely to be in great need of assistance, particularly people living with disabilities. IDFP urges the building of strong and resilient ethno-religious structures that emphasizes religious harmony, inclusive leadership, and social justice.
They urge that sanctions should be meted out to all electoral offenders without fear or favor.
We also call on security agents that no one is above the law in Nigeria. Whether aspirant or candidate who has gone out of the law should handle him appropriately. We believe this will assist us to become a very vibrant and developed nation.
The group maintained that with the election approaching, it is the right of the electorate to insist on good governance for national development rather than mortgaging their future. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Jaji Abdul Ganiyu, said that the service is working on a plan that will protect the Independent National Electoral Commission's facilities, polling units and collation centers during, after and the forthcoming elections from fire attacks and the outbreaks. This was part of the highlights at a brainstorming session aimed at providing fire cover for the general elections in Abuja on Wednesday. The report.
As Nigerians go to the polls, the need to ensure fire cover for all and sundry before, during and after the election is emphasized at the brainstorming session by head of department and commanding officers of the Federal Fire Service. The controller of the Federal Fire Service, Engineer Abdul Ganiyu Jaji, said the session is important to protect the electoral process from political hoodlums and other criminal elements who might want to use fire attacks to frustrate the process.
The recent attack of INEC offices across the country placed a burden on our soldiers as a fire officer to ensure that this ugly situation is nipped to the bud. This brainstorming section will provide an opportunity to have a robust engagement, drawing from our resources and experience strategies. By coming together to brainstorm, we can create a safe and more secure environment to foster future attack of INEC infrastructures, personnel, and to safeguard the electoral process from political hoodlums and enemies of the state, who now use the fire attack as a tool to frustrate INEC in the discharge of their statutory mandates.
He said the federal government has approved the immediate effect of 8 state-of-the-art fire trucks while expecting 15 more in the coming days.
We hope that the fire trucks that has been delivered, that we are now sending to various states and various zones, we work assiduously for the purpose of that election.
He condemned any form of attack on firefighters in the strongest possible term and said appropriate measures will be taken against the perpetrators within the confines of the law. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
About 25 terrorists armed with AK-47 rifles ambushed residents of Bakori and Gangara communities where 50 people were killed in cold blood. According to reports, the bandits rustled some cows around Jaragaba village of Bakori local government area and moved toward Yargoje in Kankara local government area Thursday afternoon. Bewildered and tired of such reoccurrences, the cattle owners and some villagers mobilized and trailed the bandits. People of the affected communities have since fled their villages to neighboring towns for safety. In a telephone chat with Trust TV in Katsina, some eyewitnesses confirmed the incident and expressed worry over the rate of reoccurrence of such acts and the inaction of security operatives. They said the incident occurred on Thursday afternoon, but up to Friday morning, there was no security presence either at the scene or anywhere around. As at the time of compiling this report, corpses of the victims can be seen unattended, laying at the scene of the attack. When contacted, the police spokesman in Katsina, SP Gamboisa, said that the command has dispatched operatives to the area to ascertain the level of damage. Similarly, the special advisor to the governor, Masari, on security matters, Ibrahim Katsina, said that the government is on top of the matter and there is no cause for alarm. Residents in Uwi and Wari South local government area of Delta State on Friday took to the streets protesting against lack of new and old Naira notes and the hardship they face to access money kept in the bank. The protest forced some commercial banks to suspend activities as scores of market women barricaded the Wari Sapele Road and NPA Expressway in protest of the Naira crisis bedeviling the country. The protesters besieged the entrance of some commercial banks located near Main Market, Wari. The traders who bore placards and leaves lamented the inability to sell their goods in the past few days, owing to the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the scarcity of the redesigned Naira notes. Now, Naira scarcity is taking toll on businesses in Abuja despite 10 days extension to the deadline earlier announced by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Apex Bank's directive to commercial banks to begin payment of the new note over the counter has not ended the scarcity. Noel Samson speaks to business owners in Abuja on the development.
Benjamin Agene is a small business owner in Abuja, and he said low sales is recorded because of scarcity of new Naira notes. Agene said the Naira redesign policy is hurting small business owners like him.
It's affected a lot of business, not only my own. Many people want to buy something, but they don't have cash to buy. Many to do transfer, network is frustrating, seriously. Go to the POS network. Go to the ATM, no cash. Go to inside bank, they bring 5 Naira, 30 Naira, give people 1,000 in a day. It's very bad. Ordinary masses, businessmen and women, in fact, civil servants, they are suffering very well. We want government, we appeal to government to set a task force, especially to monitor those banks.
It's very bad though. Concerning the business, some people used to come here to say there's no cash transfer, all this thing is very bad. There's no old notes, new notes. Or we don't even see the new notes, the new notes and the old note, or we don't even see anyone transfer now. Everything is very bad about the new currency or the cashless policy.
Charges for transaction are increased by operators of point of sales, but this operator says continuous scarcity of the currency is not favorable for the business.
We are all feeling it together, not only the POS, even the bankers. You imagine the way the bank is struck, like the way it is now. It has not been that before. So we are all feeling it. Many challenges in terms of network challenges. Is it the crowd? It is the cash for you to be able, the cash access. The cash is not accessible like before. You can't just go to the bank and withdraw. No, many challenges.
Business owners and other Nigerians want the government to look into the suffering before it escalates further. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
At least 24 people trapped in the story building that collapsed in Abuja have been rescued. Head of Operation Federal Fire Service Zaccheaus Adebayo and Director Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Agency Abbas Idris commended rescue operations, warning residents against use of substandard building materials. Kabir Lawal has more.
The building collapse on Thursday has been attributed to use of substandard product. Though fatality figure is low, many sustained injuries. Head of Operation Fire Service Zaccheaus Adebayo said that so far, 24 people have been rescued, adding that 3 people lost their lives, while the injured ones have been taken to hospital for treatment.
The updates presently is we have so far brought out 24 lives. 21 were rescued alive, while 3 were fatally injured. And all of them have been taken to different hospitals in Abuja receiving treatment now. All the stakeholders are on the ground, and we have been charged to take up our responsibility to ensure that safety of life and protection of properties are very, very adhered to in FCT.
Director General FCT Federal Emergency Management Agency Abbas Idris lauded the collaboration of all security agencies for keeping the area calm, saying that FEMA will not relent in its efforts to curb such ugly incident.
As you can see, the rescue mission is still going on, and we have so far rescued 24 persons, 21 alive, 3 badly injured, and those that were rescued alive have been receiving treatment in different medical facilities within the city. So at this moment, we are trying to get to ground zero to ensure that nobody is left out of the ground.
Ishaku Mohammed, FCT Coordinator, Standard Organization of Nigeria, said the organization has already picked most materials used from the collapsed building for investigation, which will go a long way to avert frequent building collapse.
So as soon as we get the report of the incident, we are directed to come to the site and see for ourselves what happened, pick samples of materials used, because basically most of the materials used are iron rods, cements, the gravels, and all the necessary things that are needed to construct any structure like this. So we are here to do a kind of preliminary investigation, take samples, take to the lab, find out whether it is the right kind of material that is being used for the purpose of. That's all I have.
Abuja residents have been urged not to compromise quality of building materials to enable them meet the required standard in the Federal Capital Territory. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching the news update on Trust Television. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at how 4 school pupils were rescued. Details of this and more after the break.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Media Trust Group, in collaboration with the Center for Democracy and Development, presents the 2023 Kano gubernatorial debate, featuring candidates of 4 major political parties: Nasir Yusuf Gawuna of the APC, Bashir Ishaq Bashir of the Labour Party, Abba Kabir Yusuf of the NMPP, and Muhammad Abacha of the PDP. Date: Saturday, 4th February 2023. Time: 10 a.m. Venue:
Bayero University Kano News Site.
The event is strictly by invitation and no political supporters are expected at the venue.
I will be there.
I will be there.
I will be there.
Media partners: Express Radio 90.3 FM, Nasara Radio 98.5 FM, Freedom Radio, and ARTV Kano. The debate will be broadcast live on Trust TV and other channels across the country.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. This is the news update on Trust Television. Here's a look at the top stories again. President Buhari to take decision on currency redesign in 7 days. Bandits killed 30 people, leaving hundreds injured in Gangara local government area of Katsina State. Now, a high court sitting in Port Harcourt has convicted and sentenced to death by hanging two former members of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad for extrajudicial killing. 5 members of the SARS team, Samuel Chibu, Shedrack Ibibo, Magus Awuri, Ogoligo, and Olisa Emeka, were standing trial for killing Michael Ako and Michael Igwe while in their custody for allegedly stealing recharge cards in Oyibo local government area in 2015. But ASP Samuel Chibu and Ogoligo died in custody at the Correctional Center in Port Harcourt, while Shedrack Ibibo, Magus Awuri, and Olisa Emeka continued with the trial. And the trial judge, Justice M.O. Opara, in her judgment found Shedrack Ibibo and Magus Awuri guilty of conspiracy to murder, while Olisa Emeka was acquitted. Speaking to journalists after the judgment, the State Prosecution Council expressed happiness, saying that justice has been served. 4 of the remaining pupils who were abducted in Doma local government area of Nasarawa State have been rescued. The pupils of Local Educated Authority Primary School, Alwaza, Nasarawa, spent 2 weeks in captivity. Umar Mohammed files in the report.
A total of 6 pupils of primary school, Alwaza in Doma local government area, were abducted. 2 were later released. The remaining 4 in captivity have now been rescued. However, a top military officer from 4 Special Forces Command, Doma Barracks, who preferred anonymity, said that the victims were dumped at Bogyo in Doka Electoral Ward in Doma local government area at the early hours of Friday morning unhurt, adding that no ransom was paid for their release.
We are here because we have secured the release of the remaining 4 pupils of Alwaza Primary School that were once adopted exactly 15 days ago. Basically in Doka region of Doma Local Government Council, and it involves the joint effort of both the local government, the traditional council, the communities and the security operatives. We have secured their release, and by the grace of God, we have them in our hands. As you can see, we're in the hospital now to verify that. We have taken them to the hospital, and right now the medical personnel are doing their job. No ransom aspect. I'm telling you categorically clear now that it's the joint effort of the community, the traditional council, the local government, and security operatives. And going by the recent incident, you do not just go and you find, you do not go and meet the adopters directly. They will definitely give you a point where you have the adoptees. And we thank God Almighty, we have them in our hands safely.
Police, in a statement signed by Public Relations Officer DSP Raman Nansel, explained that the rescue was a joint operation carried out by security operatives in the state.
Now, away from Nigeria, 27 people have been killed in South Sudan's central Equatoria state in tit-for-tat violence between cattle herders and members of a militia on the eve of a visit to the country by Pope Francis. The Pope is said to arrive from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, hoping to revive a peace process aimed at ending a decade of conflict fought mostly on ethnic lines that has killed hundreds of thousands of people. A peace deal signed in 2018 by the main parties in a civil war from 2013 to 2018 has significantly reduced violence in South Sudan in recent years, but lower-level clashes between rival communities regularly flare up. In one of the most remarkable gestures of his papacy, Pope Francis knelt to kiss the feet of South Sudan's previously warring leaders during a meeting at the Vatican in April 2019, urging them not to return to civil war. And in sports news, the Peruvian Congress has the Peruvian Congress has voted down another proposal to bring forward elections to 2023, a day after a similar bid was turned down amid nationwide protests that are shaking the country's economy. The motion put forward by the Free Peru Party was rejected on with 75 votes against the only 48 in favor, with 1 abstention. In addition to moving elections up from April 2024 to July 2023, the proposal included the calling of a referendum on forming a constitutional convention. Peru has been embroiled in political crisis with near-daily demonstrations since December 7, when then-President Pedro Castillo was arrested after attempting to dissolve Congress and rule by decree. And that's a wrap on Trust News Update. You can watch us more on all our social media platforms and also across on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ida. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.